Michael, thanks so much for joining us. And that beard is, I'm embarrassed to even have my beard. Oh, what this thing?
I got my quarantine beard going on here.
That's a quarantine beard slash The Walking Dead gone awry.
Exactly. It's all the good things in life. Come on, man. How you been?
Doing good, man. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
What have you been doing to stay busy on this lockdown during quarantine?
What are we doing? Well, we got a full house. We got 6 in the house. My kids are home from school, and their partners are all back with them, and friends are here. So it's like girlfriends, friends, kids, wife, me, everybody packed in. We're doing good though, all things considered. And that's one thing that I'm kind of proud of the human race, if that's possible in this day and age.
Sure.
I'm proud of us for doing what we needed to do. This is a hard ask, and I know some people are at their wits' end with it, and some people don't necessarily believe it was fully necessary. But all things considered, even those people are doing the right thing so far as distancing and keeping as safe as possible. Not everybody agrees exactly what should have happened, but I think everybody agrees that this is a huge threat to everybody's families and their loved ones. And they're taking it very serious. And I think that is the most important part of all of this. The nuance of it all aside, because that really doesn't matter. The biggest thing is that everyone, really understands that this is a threat. At whatever level you believe it's a threat, it is a threat, and everyone knows it's not good. And everybody is playing some pretty good ball. So I'm really, honestly, really proud of everybody. And I think we have done quite a job in as they call it, flattening the curve or getting past the worst part of all this. I always joke that, we have instances like this and then all of a sudden it becomes like day 3 of the Olympics, like watching gymnastics. Day 3, we're all experts. We're like, oh, she didn't stick it. We're talking about these things like we actually know. I don't know.
We're all infectious disease experts.
I don't know a curve from a fucking left turn. It's like, but I know that what we're doing seems to be having an effect, and we're all on board and we're all in it together. And I'm proud of everybody.
How do you, what changes do you see coming forward in the industry? When you go back, clearly there's going to be some changes going on. Have you thought about that? How it's going to affect production?
No, I have. Right before this happened, I was off I had 4 jobs lined up, including a pilot that I was getting on a plane to go shoot right before this happened. And car was canceled the Thursday morning before all this sort of closed down on the Friday for us. At least most of the studios closed down on the Friday 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago today. And kind of were shut down for 2 weeks at the time. And I don't know how we specifically come out of this from our industry, because it depends on a lot of face-to-face close contact. It depends on conflict, which gets, people shouting, people crying. So you have bodily fluids. You have there's all the things we're not supposed to be doing are literally the ingredients of what we do. So I think that there's going to be, in our industry specifically, there's going to be probably, when it does come back, a lot of isolation of people who are doing things, maybe taken from set to a hotel, kept in a hotel, brought to set, temperatures taken, daily. Once it gets developed, if it is possible, like an instant test that people can be tested before they come in contact with other people again. And then in between work, keeping that social distance and keeping yourself isolated. I see no other way early on, until there is some sort of vaccine or, medicines that can be given to treat it. But we are in a specific industry that counts on that close personal contact. So the crew, it's going to be a little bit easier, mask and gloves and, distance. There's a lot of them, but you can be aware of that and do that. But with the actors and the people who deal directly with the actors, the makeup, the wardrobe, prosthetics, these kinds of things, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a little bit of a different world, and I don't know when it'll be back to, normal. But I do know that they will Look, you work in the industry, we're innovative people. They're going to do whatever the hell they need, not need to do, whatever they can do to make this, transition smooth and to have it be as quickly and safely as possible.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yeah.
So I'm so interested in your career. I mean, you've done some of everything. But I know you're from New Jersey. How did you, what was it like growing up in Jersey, and how did you make it out to Los Angeles? And how did you approach your career?
Well, I was born in New York and moved to Jersey when I was 5. My dad moved us out from the city, wanted us to have, a little more land, be able to run around. And he wound up taking the train into work every day. I was in Jersey from like 5 to 15. So 10, kind of, I think, the most important years growing up as a kid there are. I think those are your formative years where you get your friends that you have for, lifetime friends, and your sort of worldview is formed, I think, in those ages. And then obviously develops further, whether you go to college or just whatever, next from 15 to 20 is a whole nother stage before you go out on your own. For me, New Jersey was kind of awesome. We were pretty poor, food stamps. Parents were working 2 jobs each, but we had, we were out in the country, so we had land around us that we could go explore and go be kids, go get dirty every day and come back when the street lights were on or not. It just didn't matter. There's nothing to worry about. That's the one thing I do remember about growing up as a kid. It was literally carefree. Looking back on it, I see all the struggles my folks were going through at the time. But at the time, as a kid, there was no worries. During that time, I got involved with the band and with theater. And theater was kind of my escape, my fun thing to go do. And never ever thought of it as a career ever. It was like, that's, other people do that. I grew up in New Jersey, get a job, blue collar.
Sure.
My dad did construction. He taught me his trade, taught me how to build furniture, taught me, how to use tools. And when I moved, my folks got divorced and my dad moved to California. I wound up going with him when I was 16. And still did theater, but it was really not, anything that I thought, again, that wasn't going to be a career. So I started going to school as, for engineering. So I went to junior college. I was going to transfer into a college, but I thought engineering seemed fun with what I learned from my dad in construction and all that. Still doing theater the whole time. And I remember one day I was doing some proofs, which are in engineering is architectural sort of homework where you maybe draw a nut or a bolt in 3 dimensions, and you're learning perspective and all that stuff so far as drawing and perspective. And my dad walked in on me one day and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing my homework." He's like, "No, like what are you doing with your life? Like, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I want to act, but I can't really do that. So I'm getting, can't do that for a living. So I'm getting to fall back, and, I'm going to learn engineering and architecture and go down that road." And he's like, "Well, why don't you pursue the thing you really love to do? You always have, if you have a fallback, you can come work with me. Construction, like that can be your fallback. Go do what you want to do." So I wound up quitting school the next day. To which he walked in the room the next day and was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I quit school." He's like, "No, you got to finish the semester." I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen." And then I applied to CalArts.
Had you done enough to know you were talented? Like, I know you did some musical theater growing up. Did you know, like, if given an opportunity, you could work in the industry at least? No idea.
Had nothing with the industry still. It was all theater. I'd come over, I'd done a lot of musical theater in some place, but mostly musical theater in New Jersey. And then when I went to California, there was an actual drama program, and they did, I think they did 3 2 or 3 legit stage plays, and then 1 musical. They did like the big musical in the year. So it was an opportunity that really the first opportunity I ever had to do, legit theater, and like in high school, because everything is usually wrapped around all the musicals and stuff. And it was just sort of like I did so many musicals, sung and danced, or sang and danced in so many shows. I can't sing or dance.
I'd like to see some footage of that if it's out there somewhere.
Oh, Christ. I bet. I'm sure it'll come up someday. Someone will dig some shit up. Yeah, it's terrible. I can't sing or dance, and there's nobody who has sung or danced more than me who shouldn't have been singing or dancing. But I loved it, and I couldn't separate myself from theater. I couldn't see myself not having it in my life, even if it wasn't a profession. So was fortunate enough to get into CalArts. And wound up using my sort of skills that my dad taught me to pay my way through school, which was construction. And then when I left CalArts, I wound up getting a job in the film and television industry doing construction. Again, it was my day job. As I like to say, people say, "What's your day job?" A lot of people are waiters and bartenders and the kind of jobs that typically some people have. There is a future in that for some people, but typically there's not necessarily a career future. And I said, again, typically for most people. So if anyone's going to read this and think I'm shitting on the service industry, that's not what I'm doing. There are certainly people who do it for a living. There are amazing careers that can be had doing it, and people are very happy doing it. But typically it's a transitional job. Mostly because the way the employers treat the employees. It's usually you're hired as a part-time person. There's a lot of turnover in the job. People use it as a way to make money while they're doing something else, because they can swap out shifts and do different things. So I have nothing against it. Matter of fact, I think I would have loved to have been a bartender had I not done construction, because I'm now actually a bar owner, and I have great joy in seeing people enjoy themselves in our space. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's the joy that a bartender has when they're working in a great place and the energy's awesome, and they have their regulars and they see people, and they are basically providing this environment and creating this environment. I've always said that you could dig a hole in the ground and put a bar in it. If you had awesome bartenders, it would be full every night, because people come for that atmosphere. And for that personal connection. But when I got out of school, I wound up supporting myself with construction, and kind of, in a weird way, fell into film and television. I was really kind of marking time, waiting for I met my wife in college. We've been together for 34 years now. And she's an actress. Or was an actress when we met. And I fully believed that we would just wait till she got out of school, and we would both wind up going to New York and trying to get on stage somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then I tripped into a job in Hollywood. And I remember it's funny, because I auditioned for a couple things, and I never had this before, but I got a flat top once. And I got the flat top and I started working. So I used to call my first job my haircut parts. Because they literally, they were like monosyllabic names like Chuck and Biff and, Ed and, and all these just guys who would come in and beat the shit out of somebody. Yeah. And it was literally no dialogue or little dialogue, and just come in and, you're going to tell them to shut up, and then you're going to punch them in the face, and that's going to be it. Okay, cool. And then it progressed. And everyone who's watching this, obviously, who knows me, I've been very, very fortunate, and very grateful, and I've had a wonderful career. It's that's obviously the very truncated version of it, but it's generally what happened. So it's been a
Do
blast.
you think you could have been happy had it not worked out for you being a carpenter? Would that have been?
Yeah, I love being a carpenter. I was actually, I excelled pretty well in that as well. So I became a construction coordinator in Local 44. So I was union. I had a career going. I was the construction coordinator on the original Beverly Hills 90210. I remember my dad, at the time I was making, when I first got my construction coordinator job, I was making more money in a year than my dad had ever made in a year.
Wow.
And then I had called him and said, yeah, I'm gonna quit because I'm gonna really pursue this other thing. I'm gonna do the construction part-time. And he was like, well, wait, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? And then I explained to him what was, and he's like, all right, if you know what you're doing. I go, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, like, I would be lying to you if I told you I knew what I was doing, but I don't. I think I got a pretty good idea, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
Didn't you work as an actor on 90210 as well?
I did. They had called me in. It was weird and awesome. Yeah, they had called me in early on when I was doing my construction coordinating and told me that basically, look, we know you're an actor, but you can't act on the show. Like, so we can't have you trying to get jobs on the show. And I said, that's fine. I'm here. You guys, I'm here to do your thing, and my other stuff is separate. They're like, okay, great. They're like, it really would be a conflict of interest for us to do that. I said, okay. And then they were having trouble casting Roll the Steroid episode in Beverly Hills 90210 because they were looking for big guys who looked young. And at the time I was 30, I think. I was 30.
Okay.
And A River Runs Through It came out. It was the first film I ever did. River Runs Through It came out.
Great movie.
Obviously, yeah, great movie, great reviews. I came across very well in it. I was very proud of it. And then I get called in the office for Beverly Hills 90210, and they're like, so we got this role. We're trying to cast these two roles, and we're having trouble. So we want to know if you would be interested in, auditioning for them. We saw that you did, River Runs Through It. It was fantastic. We didn't really know. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. I said, what about the conflict of interest thing that you were talking about? Well, we get this all the time. Everybody on the crew is an actor. We wanted to make sure we squashed it early on, and we don't. I was like, sure. I said, okay, so it's a conflict of. It's not a conflict of your interest. It's a conflict of my interest. Okay, I get you. So I ended up auditioning for it, and I got in a sense, I got two roles. They said we loved you for both the roles. We can't find. We're not sure which one we're going to give you, because we have to find the other actor to play one or the other roles. So right now, just you're hired, but over the next couple of days, we're going to figure out which one you're going to do. And during that time, a buddy of mine who had worked at the Colorado Shakespeare Festival was an actor named Jim Peary. He's another big guy. And I had recommended him for the role, and they brought him in, and he got the other role. So they wound up hiring the two of us. And I wound up doing 10 or 12 episodes, I think, in the end. Yeah.
It's a nice run.
And wound up leaving the show when I got cast in the series Against the Grain, which is a show where I played high school kid again at the time. Still
and you're in your 30s?
Something years old. So stupid. So stupid. Yeah, in my 30s. And really great show. It's kind of like a predecessor for Friday Night Lights. Stephen Tobolowsky, Wayne Knight, Ben Affleck played my buddy. He was the quarterback. He was the lead kid. Just a lot of really great actors that today that came through there. But yeah, that was the beginning of it all. And I loved it. Had a blast. I did construction up until on and off, day playing here and there, until Band of Brothers. And when Band of Brothers hit, that was so that would be 2000. So I've been acting for 10 years prior, professionally, in and out of stuff, but not necessarily making a full-time living. I mean, that's the point that I want to make, that connects to what I said earlier. Like, I was successful early on and still couldn't make a living at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Sure.
it's, you know, I've met people who were like, oh yeah, I got this, you know, guest spot. I'm quitting my job. And I'm like, whoa. Why don't you see if like they'll give you a week off?
Yeah.
And then you can go
Especially
back.
now.
Don't quit your job. You know, like don't. You're sabotaging yourself. But I never did. I always went. I would finish on a job doing construction, and I go start the next day on something acting, and then I would work 4 or 5 days, and then the next day I'd be back doing construction 5 o'clock in the morning. And I loved it. I loved walking away at the end of the day and seeing something stand in there that wasn't there before.
Mm-hmm.
I love the people. I really love the energy and the friendship and companionship of the crew. I'm not one of those guys. I mean, you've worked with me. I don't walk around thinking, you know, my shit doesn't stink. You know, it's like we're all doing our job, and nothing happens unless everybody does their job to the top, you know, top of their ability. And the more you can include everybody, in my opinion, and get everybody's energy in the same place, the better the product. You know, it's like we're all making something together.
Anybody that knows you knows, like, you're the laid back guy that, you know, you are like a crew member mentality. You know, you don't take yourself seriously at all. You're very humble. You're very down to earth. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember how you and I first met?
I think we first met before we really worked together, and I can't remember where I first met you.
And this is a perfect indicator of your personality. It was when you were doing a guest on Life, the TV show Life.
Oh yeah, the turkey episode. Michael Lang directed that.
Yeah, and they had me in as your stunt guy, or, you know, or stand in or double or whatever. And you were so nice. They had you getting you got out of prison in the back of a cop car, and they had you getting shot, and it was super bloody. It was a mess, and it was my job to get back there. And
Life. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, actually, like, I was thinking Life Goes On, but no, Life. Yes.
Yeah, Life. Yeah, Life.
With Damien.
Yeah. We'll circle back to Band of Brothers, but and you said, I'm already all bloody. Like, don't even worry about it. And so it was my job to go in there and get bloody. And you, as the actor, went ahead and just laid back there for hours, you know, so I didn't have to get my clothes dirty, you know.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's just like I don't get any more comfortable getting out. It just makes one more person that gets fucking uncomfortable. Like why? Like why?
Well, that was amazing. And then shortly thereafter, you booked Southland, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
And so you made a phone call and you got me a job full time as your stunt guy or stand in. And I left after a week to go to a play, but I was there for a week, you know, and it was great. But that's, you know, because when I did Shameless, it was a John Wells, and so you had a lot of the same crew, and everybody just loved some Cudlitz, you know, the crew guys, everybody great. Just, you know, because they just come off Southland, and Southland was
those guys are awesome.
I know you loved it, but going back to Band of Brothers, I remember everybody. That was before I got to Hollywood, but that was a big deal. Everyone was going out for that. It was Spielberg, it was Tom Hanks, right? Yeah. And so, how was that casting process for you?
We did. That was a kind of a long casting process. We'd gone in. They were casting. They didn't have full scripts yet, and they were casting about 15 American actors, and they were all about. You know, a lot of the roles were similar in size. Some are going to be featured in one episode heavily, and then have smaller parts throughout, and then the rest of the roles were going to have, you know, sort of medium-sized roles throughout the whole series. So everyone, it was sort of it definitely was an ensemble situation even before we knew what the script was. We knew what the conditions of the world were going to be. Mm-hmm. So they brought in a lot of actors, a lot. And then near the end, they weren't really sure how they were going to go, if they were going to go with names or no names. So I remember, and I won't mention the names because it's not, the production chose to go in a different way. Those actors know that they didn't get the roles. I don't have to sit here and list a bunch of guys who didn't get the roles, but there are a lot of name guys that when we walked in, there were those of us who had done, you know, 10, 15 years of character work, and people kind of knew us, you know, but not really. We were literally, you know, that guy from that thing. And then there were these names that we saw, and we all walked in. And we're like, "Oh shit!" I mean, well, obviously they're gonna cast these guys because they're huge stars, And they specifically didn't in the end. They went completely against that. The only name person was Schwimmer, and that was by design as well, because everybody wanted, they wanted the audience to hate him as much as the characters hated him. But they also with the character. But what they did with us was they wanted people to identify us with those characters only, not from some other work. And as an actor who's been successful, the further you go in your career, or the more iconic things you have connected to you, you bring that with you. When Donald Sutherland shows up on screen, you're seeing everything that Donald Sutherland brings with him. It's like, when the same thing, Tom Hanks, you're not sort of like, oh, what's he going to do? You're like, oh, there's an expectation. There's all the other roles that he did come in with it. You're like, oh, he's going to be vulnerable and this nice guy. And there's certain things that he will and won't do that are within his brand as his celebrity brand, or his sort of wheelhouse that his fans expect. And there's certain things that if he were to do would be a disappointment to his fans, strangely enough. For us, there was none of that. We were blank slates, so that we could be these characters, and everybody, people, they associate me as Bull Randleman. And that was by design, and I think that they did a great job, pulling that off. But the process was long. We had gone in, we got whittled down to the final few. They started pairing up different guys, and they were sort of signing roles to, what kind of things we could do and not do. And Spielberg was in there, handheld camera, with a little Super 8 or whatever the hell it was, camcorder, filming the auditions. And it was an amazing experience. And the whole experience forward from that didn't change. It was amazing from day one.
Didn't they bring in Dale Dye, a noted military advisor, and put you guys through a literal boot camp at some point?
Yeah, we did a 14-day boot camp, which I always joke. I said, it wasn't really like a real boot camp. It's like
actor boot camp.
Actors. Yeah, but it was really hard. And I had said this a couple of times. And we did some Armed Forces Entertainment stuff, USO stuff, right afterwards. And when I was telling the story, and one of the airmen, because we would, most of the bases overseas are Air Force bases that everybody's stationed at. Even Army guys and stuff, they're typically an Air Force base because that's how they get everybody in. One of the kids raised his hand. He's like, well, actually, your boot camp may have been harder than ours. And I was sort of like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, you couldn't get kicked out.
There you go.
I was like, oh, shit. You know what?
Well, you could get fired.
Not really. Not for, nobody was going to, like, if Tom and Steven thought you were the guy for the role, you weren't going to get kicked out because you were doing shitty in boot camp. It just wasn't like, it was Dale's job to bring you up to speed, not your job to succeed or fail. Everybody came in with the mentality of wanting to succeed, but it was definitely, a situation where failure wasn't an option. Like you would get all, you'd get fucked up one day, and then you just have to be out there the next day no matter what. And so he, the kid was right in one way, but I still maintain, we're actors. We're just doing pretend, and it's as real as it seems at times and as hard as it can be. It's not. I have the utmost respect for our military and what they do. So I don't compare the two, but it was an interesting point that I sort of was like, maybe.
Was it at that point in your career, was there a little bit of, Spielberg and Hanks, like you had to bring your A game? Were you not intimidated? But were you aware of your surroundings and who you were working with?
All of it. All aware of our surroundings, intimidated, the whole deal. You knew that everything you did was being watched. You not only wanted to do well for them, but you wanted to do well, because what it could mean for your career. And then the more and more we got into it, all that sort of went to the wayside, and we just wanted to represent these men as best as possible for the families and everything that we had learned along the way and how important this story was. So it really kind of climbed all over itself before it became this other thing that didn't matter about Spielberg and Hanks and career, and like that all just completely went away. It was like, how do we stay faithful to the story, and how do we represent these men and their families in a way that is responsible and accurate for what they did. So it's life-changing.
And yeah, I imagine it was. I mean, it's such a great project. And as you got into it, y'all shot that in Europe, or was that?
We were in England.
In England.
We shot in England, except for 10 days. We were in the Alps on the Swiss side. We were in Interlaken. We shot all the Austrian stuff, in Switzerland, because Spielberg would not shoot in Austria because I don't know if you remember, if everyone remembers back, that year was the year that the Austrian, what would it be? What is their government? They have a parliament, I believe. And they had elected a Nazi sympathizer to their parliament.
Oh, wow.
And Spielberg pulled the plug on everything. We were supposed to shoot all the best known stuff, all the snow stuff, actually out in the Austrian Alps. It was all set. It was ready to go. That happened. No more. Nope. We're going to shoot it on stage in the snow. Won't do it.
Good for him. I mean, you know, and who else can do that besides Spielberg? But and anybody who's seen Band of Brothers knows it was based on Easy Company, which, you know, The Greatest Generation, just a bunch of heroes. And you played an actual person, Denver Bull Randleman. And did you have a chance to meet him before? Did you get to know him? Did that add more pressure?
I got to know him a little bit beforehand and much more in depth as we went on. I spent a lot of time talking with his wife. So I you know, it's interesting. When I first called, I called a buddy of his, Hashi, his last name, and was talking about Bull, and, you know, wanted to get some feedback, and, you know, what does he remember about him? What are his qualities? How did he carry himself? How was he? And we're about 15, 20 minutes into it, and he said, well, how's Bull doing? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, have you talked to him yet? I said, well, no, we're under the impression that he has passed. And he's like, oh, that's terrible. He goes, I just talked to him a week ago. I go, whoa. No, hang on. I was told like a month ago he passed. So like, if you talked to him a week ago, don't listen to what I'm saying. Like, I need to try and find him. I said, let me call production, give them this information, and then we'll see. I said, please don't spread that around. He's not dead. Like, I heard this a long time ago. It's obviously misinformation. If he did die, it would have been in the last couple of weeks. But if you talked to him a week ago,
sure, I'm
pretty sure he's fine. He was fine. So we got in touch with him, and I had a very short conversation with him initially, and then I had a longer conversation with his wife. And as the project went on, he opened up more and more to me. And then once they saw what we had done, he really opened up to me. And we traveled the world together for about 2 years. He and his wife Vera met his kids. Everyone has passed since. But what an amazing experience to be part of that, to get to know the family, and just the respect that we have for those guys, and to be able to spend time with them was amazing.
Well, you guys continued. I mean, it was such a special time and a such special project. You guys had annual reunions, right? Like the Easy Company and the actors that portrayed them. I mean, that went on. I think they're probably all gone now, but that went on for years.
There's like 4 of them still left, I believe.
Oh.
They still have their reunions. And we used to go to them, but at some point it became about people coming to see the actors and not the men anymore. So we actually, as a group, the actors, we pulled ourselves out of that situation, so the families would be sort of respected a little bit more and have a little more privacy. But we, as the actors, have a boot camp, not a boot camp, but a reunion every year. It's our boot camp reunion. And we would have had it, it was scheduled for the 11th this year of April, because we started filming on April 1st. And our boot camp was 2 weeks before. So the last 2 weeks in March were boot camp, and then April we started shooting. And the reunion that we have happens usually in the last week of March or the first week or two of April. And this year it was scheduled for the 11th. We had to postpone. So we'll either do something in the fall or we'll wait, because there's some events that are happening. So we're coming up on 20 years since the project was released. We started shooting in 2020, and then a year later, it was released 2021. So as we get into, I'm sorry, 2001, not 2021, 2001.
Okay.
Or 01. So we started in 2000, just for clarification, started in 2000, it aired in 2001, and now we're coming up on our 20th year at 2021. It'll be 20 years since we started shooting.
Well, that's such an iconic project. I have to believe, and you did such a great job of portraying him, and I have to believe you were offered so many military roles after that. You could have been pigeonholed as a military type.
Yeah, there were a couple things people were trying to take advantage of our situation with the sort of a cachet, if you would, that came with that. The Jessica Lynch story, when they were doing that, they'd actually come to me and offered me a role. I did a little bit of research on it, and they didn't have clearance from the families. They didn't get permission from the families. So they weren't really talking to all the people, getting the real story. So I wound up taking myself out of that project. I turned it down because they were using me to make it seem like it was more authentic.
Yeah.
And using my, just my being there would have lend more legitimacy to it.
Right.
And I wasn't at a point where I could be turning down work. I needed work, it's like we all need work, but I just felt the project had affected me so strongly, and those kinds of things, when you're dealing with sort of biopic things, we weren't recreating an event, where we all know what the event was. And then, they have a whole group of fictional people. These are actual people, and it was an actual story, and they only had the rights to one or four stories, not the rights to everybody involved. And it's not how you want to tell one of those stories, unless you're telling it from a first person situation where like it's my story, I was there and I'm going to tell it. Everyone else's names would be changed. But unless everyone has an input and they know what they were doing, it's not everybody's story. It's one person's story. Sure. And with Band of Brothers, it was, everybody was on board. They knew what we were doing, and they all signed off on it, and they were all cool with it. And the ones that were hesitant, by the end, were all on board. But something like that, where it's just a fictional kind of movie of the week thing, and they're just trying to make a buck. Like, I'm not the guy. Go somewhere else. Go. You know what? There's a lot of other actors who could use the opportunity. You're not going to use me to legitimize your lie. Yeah.
Well, it worked out. How long? Yeah. And I know one of your other favorite roles was Southland, and that came along, and I started on NBC, and you're so versatile. You've done so many different types of roles, and you played a cop in that. Why was that project so special to you? Because I've heard you talk so endearingly about it.
That was when we started on that, we had a meeting with John Wells, and he told us we're going to be telling stories in a different way. We're going to be telling sort of narrative. We're telling a narrative, but not in a linear way. So the idea of the linear narrative is throw it out the window. It's going to be a compilation of scenes put together that's going to be more of like an orchestrated piece of music. And the combination of scenes put together, by the end, you're going to have some emotional catharsis, but you're not necessarily going to have a linear narrative that takes you to the end of the story. There's not going to be necessarily a beginning, middle, and an end. We're not going to solve cases necessarily. There'll be instances where things do have a conclusion, but generally speaking, it's not about that. It's like most cops don't solve cases. It's like that's the big thing with procedurals now. That's what they do. And it's a mechanism that works great. And I will do it in the future. And I love the medium, but that's not what we were doing. We wanted to sort of recreate, and Chris Chulak and John wanted to recreate the actual life of a cop. And the actual life of a cop doesn't see things through necessarily to the end. They're walking around, they're taking reports, they're handing things over to the detectives. They don't always see things go from a beginning, middle to an end. Sometimes you just see the beginning and the middle, and then it gets handed off. And it's like, but what does that emotional toll take on the cop? It was just a whole different way of looking at storytelling. And we were so integral and so respected and so much a part of that storytelling that it remains the most creative thing I've ever been involved with. From a standpoint of storytelling, standpoint of our involvement, innovative camera, not techniques, but camera positions and just ways of using the camera and telling stories. A lot of, handheld shots that, where the master shot becomes the 2 shot and the medium and then the extreme close up, and you're doing it all in one shot, in one movement. You very much feel like you are watching a documentary, watching it, an orchestrated episode of Cops,
Sure.
as it were. And it was amazing. The people we came in contact with, everybody was on board to tell the stories the way we wanted to. Everybody wanted to have fun. Everybody wanted to make something great and new, and everybody took part in it. It was really, really wonderful and creative.
In my week or two on the show, it wasn't a glamorous job. I mean, you guys shot, there's drug dealers right around the set, and you had to have security. It got a little dicey sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. We had a couple of liaisons, gang liaisons, because we were shooting in certain neighborhoods, and it was more about, we wanted them to know that we were there in their neighborhoods. It's the gang life or gang situation, and I'm not an expert on it. I just know what I experienced when I was there. The gang life has many levels to it, and one of those levels is protecting their neighborhood. So we would very respectfully go into these neighborhoods because the actual cops who are advisors said, we need to be careful because they might not respond well to us being there. They might cause problems. And so we had liaisons that were gang members or gang members that had transitioned out that would go into the neighborhoods before we were there, let them know we're coming, let them know what we were doing. Once we were on air for a year or so, they actually loved us coming into the neighborhoods because what they felt was that we were sort of being very respectful in how we told their stories as well. We made sure we showed all sides of it, so it wasn't just, the criminal, it was character driven. So you got to know these people, and you saw the good and the bad and the cops, and you saw the shady stuff that they did at times. And it was just a real look at what that was, or a little snapshot of a taste of it. So it was exciting, as a job, I remember walking through, we were down in what the people in the neighborhood refer to as the jungle. And it was this place where it's the place where Denzel in Training Day goes down and gets shot up.
Yes.
And that's we shot down in there, and somebody yelled at me through the fence, like, "Hey, motherfucker, what are you doing here?" And I literally was like, "Oh shit!" And he just started laughing. He's like, "Nah, man, I'm just messing with you." He's like, "I love what you guys do. You show respect to everybody." And I was like, "Oh shit, thank God."
Were you praying that bulletproof vest was real at that time?
They were real. Yeah, all the gear was real. We got fitted for our bulletproof vest, and most of that was just just so we moved properly. You put the vest on, you you just move and operate in a completely different way. And you can see when guys have and gals on movie sets have vests that aren't real, because sometimes they don't want to wear them because it's too hot. So the actor will be like, oh, I don't want to wear it. It's too hot. I'm uncomfortable. Well, it literally changes how you physically move. It limits your mobility. So you can see a lot more movement in someone who's not wearing the plating than you can with somebody who actually has the plating. It's almost like corseting. You know, there's a robotic feel to it, and there's a command presence that's given an openness that you have when you're wearing that gear and when you're wearing the right gear. So it all plays into selling it, you know, selling the role and making the characters believable. So I love that job.
Yeah, I can tell, and I've heard you talk about it. And also, I mean, certainly maybe it'd been done, but I hadn't seen it. But having your character, who was this macho cop, come out of the closet, you know, that had to be fun and challenging, maybe for you to because I don't think that's been
awesome.
portrayed on network TV before.
No, it hadn't been, you know, and we early on, it was interesting because people didn't really catch it early on, but he was, you know, from day one in the pilot, the last shot is him in a bar, in a gay bar. And, you know, the guy's like, man, hell of a day. And he's like, tell me about it. But if you're not paying attention, you don't see it. But if the camera pulls down, pulls all the way down, and there's only guys in the bar. And there's guys hanging on each other, and I think there's guys kissing in the background. It's so obvious and so subtle because you're on this emotional journey with this one character, and then you sort of pull back and like, oh yeah, it's just showing him alone in a bar. And if you really put it all together, you're like, oh no, it's him alone in a gay bar. And you're like, oh shit, our John Wayne is gay. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you're never beaten over the head with it throughout the whole series and that's something we talked about on the show, was that it wasn't a show about a gay cop. It was a show about cops, and one of them happened to be gay. It was not, being gay was not ever the center of the storyline, nor was it intended to. And we refused to do some press early on for the at the time, the predominant gay publications or gay-centric publications, because we thought it was a disservice to them, actually. And I actually did an interview with one of the magazines with a reporter, Michael Jensen, who I'm still actually friends with on Facebook. Really, really good dude. He'd been asking and I want to say hounding, but he'd been pushing for an interview for like 3 or 4 years. I think in the 4th year we gave it to him, and then we talked about why. And I said, look, it's you know, you guys were so excited about the fact that he was a gay character, and so were we, but we didn't want anyone to turn it into that it was a show about a gay character. You know, it's like everybody screams for equality and wants to be treated the same and should be treated the same and deserves to be treated the same. Well, guess what? We're going to treat it the same right from the start. We're not going to push that as an agenda. Yeah, I could have gotten some more press out of it, but that's not what it was about. It's about honoring the story we're telling. And it happened to be a story about a cop who happened to be gay. You know, I think one of his lines is, John Cooper was like, I got a lot of problems, being gay isn't one of them. You know, he had a lot of shit going on in his life, and that was just part of the package. And in the end, he was actually very receptive to it. He's like, actually, I really appreciate you guys not, you know, doing the interviews with us early on. And I think it had more of an impact. And then in the end, it was a fantastic article about the show 4 years into it that, you know, people got to see, and they, you know, sort of presented a different point of view potentially. And then it also let people fall in love with this guy, and then hopefully we're expanding minds. It's like, look, you know, we're not saying, you know, we want someone to be gay who's not gay, but we're saying, you know what, there's probably a lot of people who are gay that you don't even know about, and it should not affect the way you treat them or your friendship or your worldview, and nobody's coming in and taking all your stuff or turning your pet gay, or like, it's like that's not what it is. You know, it's like, this is the guy that you fell in love with. Love the guy, love the character. Guess what? He's also gay. oh shit, yeah, oh shit, okay, moving on. And we did. A lot of people were like, wow, yeah, I really changed I don't know how I feel about that, but okay. And I felt like even if we opened the door and let you look in to something that you were uncomfortable with 24 hours prior, that's okay. And come around to it or don't come around to it on your own time. But I think it was a very respectful way to treat everybody. And John Wells and Ann Bitterman, Ann Bitterman's just an amazing, amazing storyteller. Amazing, just real proud of that.
Yeah, I don't know her, but I do know John Wells, peripherally. And anytime you get a chance to work on one of his projects, aside from the fact that you can't have any scripts on set, you got to be prepared when you get there. Were you guys like that on Southland where?
That started with us.
Oh.
That started with us. Chris Chulak, that was what he wanted to do. He's like, I don't want any scripts on set. We spend all this time working on the script and editing and re-editing and rewriting and this and that. And then we shrink it down in a day into a little piece of a piece. And then we fold it up and tear it out and throw it on the floor. He's like, well, no, give the script the respect that it's deserved. It's the story. And come ready to work. And then we're going to spend time shooting, not spend time having people learn their lines.
Everybody showed up prepared. I mean, it's a great, I don't know. Well, there was one actress who was an 80s star who showed up for a guest spot, wasn't prepared, and she got fired that day. I won't mention any names, but Kelly LeBrock.
On Shameless?
Yeah. But, and then The Walking Dead, that obviously is a huge show based on books. And so you are Sergeant Abraham, and what was that like? Did you have to audition for that, or were you known from your previous work well enough?
I did. Well, it was interesting. I went in, and they had contacted me after Southland, and what did they do? They wanted me to come in and read, and I wasn't able to. And then they came back to us again. They said they really want you to read. The Scott Gimple, loves your work, knows you, but he really wants you. It's kind of an out there part. Just take a look at the material and see what you think. Well, I read the material, and it was not. They write stuff for the auditions. They don't use actual stuff from the show because so much is secret or was secret
right.
At the time. And what had happened? I was in jury duty, and it was Sharon Bialy, and they wanted me to come in on the Friday, and it was like Monday. And I think I had called in already to see if I had to come in on Tuesday, and I didn't. And I just said, look, can we call them and find out if I can come in tomorrow? I said, it's like 4 pages, almost all, it's just like a monologue. I said, I'm not going to be crazy prepared for it, but if I don't come in tomorrow, I might not be able to make it in because I have a feeling I'm going to be called before the end of the week. So let's see. So I went in. She said, yeah, you can squeeze in. Just show up whenever you're able to, and we'll squeeze you in. And I showed up, and I said, look, if I don't get called, I want to come back and do this again properly. I said, but I just wanted you guys to see me, and let me just see what we get. So I went and did it. And it went actually really well, having not had a lot of time with it, and for the amount of work that it was. And I hate doing last minute stuff on tape because I wear glasses. So when I read, and I'm like, okay, so the guy's going to get it is going to be the guy who just happened to be able to be really good at memorizing quickly. Like, what the fuck is that? So I'm going to look. I'm going to look. It's hard to stay engaged while you're checking your material.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was in my book a lot, and then I improvised quite a bit because I didn't want to be in the thing. And I said, look, I'll come back and I'll do better, And I did. I felt really good about it anyway. Well, we got a call back that night. They're like, Scott loved it. They want you to come back and do a screen test. And I was like, well, what did I just do? Like, what? Can you say me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean a screen test? Like, you have me on tape. And I was busy and doing stuff. I'm not going back in. So I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm not going back in. You guys have everything. And then they call back and like, okay, you're right, we do.
Nice.
So they wound up hiring me. I didn't really know what it was at the time, but once I did, got it. I was very excited and figured it out. I'm gonna actually plug in real quick because my battery came up.
Okay. Yeah, I remember it was very secretive. I mean, it was so popular in popular culture from the books and the show. And I'd actually invited you to play in one of my celebrity poker tournaments, and you called me and said something's come up, which was, I found out later, The Walking Dead.
Oh, was it that?
You were in Georgia. And yeah, that was, I mean, I never really watched The Walking Dead, but I know just how huge of a project it was. Everybody's talking. It's water cooler talk. Every Monday after it airs on Sunday night, everybody's talking about it. So, did you feel any pressure going in for that role, being it was based on the books and had such a
a little bit? Yeah, a little bit. It was weird. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to plug in because I don't have my adapter up here.
Yeah. Well, if you need to take a break, it's fine.
I have all my old iPad stuff up here, and I have the new iPad, so it has the new fitting.
Oh.
So I gotta find. There you go.
All right.
Okay, I think I got it.
Yeah. Let me know whenever you're ready. Can you hear me, Michael?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Can you still see me?
No, I'm looking at a black screen that says Michael's iPad.
Yeah, okay, hang on one sec. I'm here. I'll get you back soon.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and do this drawing because Brian Krause is giving away one of his autographed charm scripts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
On you. So let's see. Have all the names in the hat. So when you share it and to get eligible, you have to share it publicly or I can't see who wins. So the winner of the Brian Krause script is Victoria Fundator Crawford. If you can see that right there. So we'll get with Brian. I don't think it shows up, and have him send out that script. And I think he'll also do maybe a little video, a personalized video. See if we can talk him into that. But congratulations, Victoria. I know you're a big fan of Brian, and so I know you'll be happy to get that. And and let me go ahead and promote next week's guest, who I have locked in. My friend and also an outstanding actor, Sean Patrick Flannery, is going to be joining me here next week on Friday. Hopefully we can tape it live, but we'll see. I may actually be going out to his house since he also is in Houston. Or maybe he owns some jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms. Maybe I can talk him into going live from one of those. But you've seen him in Boondock Saints, and he was Powder, and Young Indiana Jones. So I'm real excited to have Sean Flannery on. So that'll be next Friday, and hopefully we can get it on live and just watch my page for details of that. So
I'm still here.
Okay.
Just figuring out what the fuck.
Trust me, I'm the worst with technology. I'm 0 for 2 in getting on Facebook Live. So.
Well,
Do you want me to let you go and we can try to close it out a little bit later?
No, just give me one more minute.
Okay, yeah, take your time. I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah, no, I have the right adapter. The problem is I'm like in a weird place. I have to get the adapter that's long enough. So hang on one second. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has technical issues. Thanks again for everybody watching. And we'll get back with Michael and finish up with him when he finishes up getting that technical issues taken care of. There he is.
There we go.
All right.
Now we're hardwired. We'll be fine.
All right. Is that your office?
Yeah.
I used to see you at the gym, LA gym. I don't know if you remember that or not. LA Fitness. I think it was LA Fitness.
Well, that would have been a while ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Way back. I've got, you know what? I'm going to try to do this right now. See if you can. Can you see that? You see a picture or you just see me?
I just see you. Hang on, let me see. But I only have us in a.
Oh.
No, I have us where you're big.
Oh.
Something.
Do you see a picture or do you just see me?
I see you. Yeah, just you.
Oh, never mind. I was trying to share a picture that you and I took 2008. It was at a LAPD event. How about now?
Yeah, I got it.
Who are those?
Was that the poker thing?
No, that was at a LAPD. I just randomly ran into you, and you were there with the Southland crew. It was a LAPD event, and so we just jumped on. I feel like I'm your annoying little brother that's always trying to get pictures, get you to do interviews.
Not at all. I always love seeing you. Not at all, dude.
Yeah, this was 2008. So now it was a thrill for me to meet this, all your Southland buddies there. We'll see Thomas Howe and all those.
Yeah, Tommy's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
Yeah, I'd never met him before. But anyway, I wanted to show you that picture from 2008. So anyway, finishing up on Southland. I mean, The Walking Dead. I remember everybody knew that somebody was going to die. They didn't know who, but somebody was going to get killed off. And so, I wondered if it was going to be you. And I didn't really watch the show, but I tuned in to watch that episode. And man, you got it good.
Yes, I did. Both Steven and I got it very good. The two of us.
Was that?
Yeah, that was fun though. We kept that secret for a year, which was kind of awesome because they actually weren't sure if they were going to have the death at the end of season 6 or the beginning of season 7, or if they were going to kill one of us at the beginning of end of season 6 and the other one. So they weren't really sure. Mm-hmm. And then when they decided that they were going to hold it, it became a deal of like, well, how do we keep the secret? And, at the time I was, and still am, knock on wood, working. So they were like, well, we can't have you doing other jobs or, the fans will know. And I'm like, well, that's kind of your problem. It's like, so they wound up keeping me on the show. They kept me on contract for the whole year, to not work basically.
So what did you do for a year? Did your wife?
I was allowed to do feature stuff if it came up, but for the most part, I did conventions and spent some time with my family because I've been traveling so much, and just laid low, But I would travel back and forth to Atlanta to make it look like I would be seen in Atlanta because they had paparazzi that would wait at the Atlanta airport, so there would be photos of me going back and forth, and they weren't sure. And it was that's all we had to do is just keep them guessing a little bit. Just a little bit of doubt is enough. And it worked. Nobody really knew. People had ideas. Of course, the occasional person was like, "Oh, I knew." Like, okay, well, you guessed, and you guessed correctly. So sure, you knew. Like,
no, look, nobody really knew.
No.
I remember I followed it because I enjoyed watching you on the show, and nobody knew. And I don't even think you're in the top 3 of people speculating who got killed. I think it was a complete surprise. You guys pulled it off.
Yeah, it was great. I had a good time.
Were you bummed that it came to an end like that, or did it run its course?
Not really. It kind of ran its course. I'd come off Southland, and I don't mean, and this is not said in a shitty way at all. It was never my show, and it was never going to be my show. And I had come off Southland, which was arguably my show. I think in the end of it, the 4 of us could claim it as our show. Myself, Ben McKenzie, Sean Haddisy, and Regina King. It was our show. This was, although I had a good fun time doing it, and I loved everybody on it. It was always, Andy's show and Norman's show. Melissa, Denai. It was their show, and they killed it, and they were amazing. And it's like there's no sour grapes. I came in to do my job on the show, on their show, which I loved doing. And then it was time to move on, and it was great, actually. It was a lot of fun doing it. And I went out in a great way. Nothing but love and respect for everybody on it. I've since gone back and directed on it. It's been great. I have zero to complain about in regards to Walking Dead. Zero.
Yeah. Is that something you would like to do more of, is directing?
Yeah.
Moving forward?
Yeah, I was supposed to direct. I was teed up to direct on Southland had we got another season. We all were going to direct, as a matter of fact. Myself, Ben, Sean, and Regina, and we all have since directed on other stuff as well. And the show just got canceled, so it didn't happen. So when I came into Walking Dead, one of the things we talked about early on were things that, where I saw my future, what I was interested in. One of the things came up was directing. And I brought it up early on, and I said, look, you don't know me from Adam, so I'm not going to be coming here and go, oh, I want to be directing someday. But I said, I want you to think about it. I want you to get to know me. And I want to sort of seriously look at one day me directing. And if, you get a sense of how I tell story and we're all on the same page and, you trust me, then that'll be great. But I'm never going to force it on anyone. It's like it has to be, everybody has to be on board with it. And then 2 years after I left, so I left in season 7. I did the first episode of season 7 and the last episode of season 7. And then I directed episode 7 in season 9 was the first one I did. And then I did episodes 7 and 4 in season 10. And then I went on to direct 2 more episodes of their spin-off, The World Beyond, which is yet to come out. Episodes 6 and 7 of that show, and that's 10 episodes.
Oh, cool.
So I directed 20% of the season.
Wow.
I feel like
when is that coming out? Do you know?
They don't know. It was supposed to come out this past weekend, but because of everything that's gone on, they have not been able to post everything fully. So they have the last couple episodes they have to finish up. Same thing with Walking Dead. The final episode didn't air because they're not done doing the post work on it, because that stuff takes people working in close proximity for some of the elements, and they just don't have it. So the fans are going to have to wait for the season finale and of the regular Walking Dead, and they're going to have to wait for the full season of The World Beyond. But it's good. It's really good. I think the fans are going to love it. Had a really good time working on it. Really talented people, great storytelling, and a lot of fun.
Cool. And that brings us up to, one of my favorites, The Kids Are All Right, on ABC last year. I still have all those on my DVR. You go from, being cast as a bully to killing Germans and Band of Brothers to murdering zombies to playing the bull in a china shop comedic dad, which I loved.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to turn to comedy?
I was done killing shit for all the reasons you just mentioned. I wanted to take a break from all the angst and all the blood and and all the sort of insane, intense focus that goes into that work, and I wanted to have fun. In the last 2 years, I wanted to do that. Sort of take a break from it. I did a pilot for ABC called The Trustee, which did wind up not going. Megan Rath was in that. She was terrific. And I had it, it was kind of the straight man. It was a procedural, but it was a comedy buddy picture with 2 women who were the leads, and then I was their boss. And it was really, really funny and really, really well done. And I just sort of put it out there that I was in the mood for doing something different. And I did for 2 years. And had a great time doing it. Kids Were All Right I think Tim Doyle is a comedic genius. I've never been on a show or seen a show that was so consistent with its writing throughout we did 23 episodes. Mm-hmm. So the idea of the writing being so dense and so consistent and so funny for so many episodes, it just blew me away. So I'm really proud of that. The kids were amazing. Mary McCormick deserved a fucking Emmy for the first season. I mean, seriously, she just killed it, and the kids killed it. It was really a pleasure to be part of it.
Well, you guys certainly, it was set in the 70s, and you guys nailed it. I mean, I laughed out loud, watching it. Yeah. I was super bummed when
I did too.
Canceled.
I did too.
You were a little bummed about it. It was surprising because the numbers were pretty good, and, it just so disappointing. Did ABC give you a reason why they weren't renewing it?
Well, there was a big merger that went on between ABC and Fox Studios, and we had, the numbers were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay. They were certainly as good as anything else that they kept. Mm-hmm. But they had fired all the ABC studio people when they merged and put all the Fox people in charge. And it's kind of interesting how all the Fox studio stuff seemed to survive, and all the ABC studio stuff seemed to go away. It's kind of interesting.
That wasn't their baby. They wanted to keep their own babies.
Yeah. If we succeeded, nobody would get to celebrate it. You know what I mean? Like nobody had ownership of it anymore. Everybody who created our show, and so from a studio standpoint, and even from a network standpoint, nobody was there anymore. So it's like there was no win in it for anyone who was there, which is sad because the only people who lost were the fans. And right now they don't have anything. They're doing better than what we were doing. It's comedy's tough, and when you find something that works, you gotta stick with it. And they didn't, and whatever. It's the business, but those people won't be there that long anyway. Everybody moves, so it's just you gotta you work with the system. I'm sure I've worked with a bunch of them. I'm sure they're all really nice people, but they have their own interests at heart, which I get. So,
is there anything in closing, like coming up, that you could promote? I mean, after we get through this virus, or is there?
No, I had a couple of. I'm yawning. Oh. Not because I was up early doing another podcast thing. It's actually a TV show. We were talking about that earlier, so you got started late.
Yeah, it's been a long day for you, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. No, my pleasure. Seriously. No, I had. I was in the process of doing 4 jobs when this all happened, and I was getting on a plane to go do a pilot. And I won't tell you where because you guys will figure it out. It hasn't been announced yet. So if it still all moves forward, there will actually be an announcement. So I'm not going to say where. All right. You guys out there will all be like, you'll figure out exactly what it is.
Come on, you can tell us, Michael. Nobody's watching. We'll keep a secret.
The little snip will be on like 15 other platforms.
Yeah. If we can break some
so
news on this, it'll really get
exactly. No, they won't let me. But I will be shaved, so I'm letting it go
okay.
for now.
So we can rule out coming back on The Walking Dead for now.
Maybe.
Oh, see, you're not even going to give us that. Okay.
But yeah, so once we're through all this, which hopefully will be soon, as long as it can be done safely soon, then everybody will know what's going on. But I got a lot of cool stuff in the works, some more directing. If you're ever in Nashville and, one day we get open back up again, I got a speakeasy cigar whiskey bar in Nashville called the Red Phone Booth. It's a really cool spot.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. What made you get into the bar, cigar game? I know you like your cigars.
I do. I like my cigars. I like my whiskey. I'm a pretty good drinker. Wouldn't call myself professional yet, but I excel at drinking and smoking cigars. And everywhere I travel, the first thing I would Google would be cigar bars and steakhouses. And every city I was in, I never really found a place that I thought was the place. I never found a place where I thought, oh man, this place is fantastic. Until I went to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, when I was working on Walking Dead, I found a place called the Red Phone Booth, which was in Atlanta. And it was at the time actually called Prohibition. It was up in Buckhead. And they since closed because everything's expanding there so quickly. The property they were in got sold. They're putting condos in, so they bought them out. And then a year later, they reopened under Red Phone Booth in Midtown. And I'd been on their mailing list, so they contacted me that they were reopening. And this place is like my Cheers. So I would sort of plan my trips to Atlanta around visits to this bar. Stay an extra day, come in a day or two early so I could go hang out at the bar, enjoy myself, and then go to work. And then I told the owners, look, I'm looking to open my own place, but I don't really have the time because I've been so busy, knock on wood. And but if you're ever looking for an investor, give me a shout and we'll see if there's something that we can do. And then a year later, they got in touch with me and said, hey, you still interested? Because we're looking to open a place in Nashville. And I, at the time, had been going back and forth to Nashville for conventions and for charity events. I did a couple charity events a year there. And it just seemed like a no-brainer. Such a great city. And so we opened up took a year to build out, and we opened up in December of last year, December 5th, National Prohibition Repeal Day.
Perfect.
Yep. And we've been open since. And right now we're just doing delivery of our food, which is mostly pizzas. But we can do delivery of alcohol now and cigars because the city has allowed us to do that. So hopefully we get everybody back to work soon.
I hear you guys have amazing pizza there. So anybody in Nashville.
How did you hear?
I do my research. I know it got voted.
No, they do. It's like crazy. It's the pizza's fantastic, and not just because it's my pizza place, because I can't really eat a lot of pizza these days.
I don't believe that. Come on, you're on quarantine.
I can. I'm capable of it. I'm just not. It's not good for my career.
Oh, okay. That I can believe. You got to choose between your tequila or your pizza. You can't do both.
Exactly. So yeah, so we're doing that delivery, and we're doing virtual tastings. If anyone has any questions about it, they can check us out at Red Phone Booth on Instagram. Red Phone Booth Nashville. There's all kinds of links in the bio and stuff within the posts on how to order pizzas if you're local in the area, and how to get involved with the tastings. They're virtual tastings, so you do not have to be in Nashville to be part of them.
Wow, I know what I'm doing tonight.
So they're having one tonight. I think it's sold out, but they're all affordable.
I know one of the owners. I can get in.
Yeah. I think they're trying to get me to pop in tonight. So we're excited. But again, all the stuff we're doing right now is really just to keep the lights on, so we make sure that we're there and we can get everybody hired back afterwards. That's the big focus right now. I'm going to be fine. You know, I feel like I was born to do this. I'm such a, you know, doomsdayer. Not so far as the way I live my life, but it's just the way I, you know, I'm very frugal, and, you know, I keep everything sort of close to the vest. So I'm sort of like, oh yeah, okay.
Well, being an actor, that it trains you to be frugal in the early days. So.
Exactly.
Well, I know you've had a long day. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful you're a class act for taking the time to do this, and I wish you the best. You know, whatever project you move on, and people in Nashville, order pizza, you know, and go do some virtual tastings. But I'll see you down the road, Michael, and it's been a great
All right,
thrill
buddy.
talking to you.
I appreciate it. Good luck to you, bud.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.